So much abandoned equipment, only so much time. They're out there crying in sheds and yards, waiting to be brought back to life, to be made useful again. Okay, next up's this master till. It's in pretty rough shape. Just as a preview though, I got this and one pressure washer, two pressure washer, three pressure washer, package deal for 40 bucks. So I thought, well, it's worth it. Surely one of the motors will be good. I wouldn't doubt that all of those pressure washers, somebody froze the pump on it. But, you know, even if the motor works, it's worth something. So here we go. Step one, as always, except for that one chainsaw, of which we shall not speak. Always check. It's got compression. Then does it have spark? If it has both, it simply needs fuel delivery. Ooh, nice and clean. Beautiful. Put a little mixture of Marvel Mystery Oil down its throat. Give it some, wow. It's a mixture of Marvel Mystery and after-run oil from the old RC Airplane. RC Airplane days. Come on, don't quit on me. It's a little stiff. Need some lube. Hold on. I still hate YouTube for not letting me play background music for fear that an artist will lose a penny, I guess. Ooh, it stinks. It smells like sewer. Like rotted, filthy water. Not a good sign. Anyways, all right, that's coated. Sure. You know, we've never come across one of these with, well, except for the chainsaw, with zero compression, to where it would just be a, let's take it apart for fun and see why it broke. All right. Don't have anything. I'm gonna jerk this and knock the tripod crazy. Oh, I don't think we have any compression. We do not. Well, there you have it. This is one with a stuck valve or just it's pooched. No compression. Give. All right. Tear it apart anyway. See what's going on. Because you know, there's an option. If you look at this thing, the rest of the device that does the work, it's all there. In the old style way of doing it, it's just a belt drive. So you can bolt any old motor on there that you want. And, you know, put a pulley on it of that diameter and the rest of the machine's gonna be fine. But you can get motors all over the place, all the time. Shoot, even one of those pressure washer motors out there could be a candidate for this. And there's a lot of people that want these to grow their gardens. Come spring, they're looking for a cheap tiller because maybe they're getting into gardening, or more likely they let theirs rot last year and didn't take care of it. So they sell that one and just buy another one that's been gone through and ready to run. Who knows? But anyways, this one has no compression, so it's probably pooched, but it may also just have a valve stuck or something. Won't know until we take it apart. Let's see. It's good to have holes in your gloves because then you can press the buttons on your camera. Lots of times you never catch the fun stuff on camera. I just decided as a secondary check to stick my finger over the hole and see if I felt compression and then pull the cord. I can tell you this, it definitely has spark because I just shocked the piss out of myself. Bet you'd like to see that. So anyway, we know the coil's good. One more thing and then I'll shut up. Trying to do this in the logical order of things, so I never said that. If you're going to do this for fun, I encourage you to do so. Fixing these old motors and saving them from the landfill, but here we have a true Four Seasons. I'm in Missouri, and from my experience last year, the first thing people go looking for is tillers to get their garden in, and then as spring starts to end, summer starts to get here, that's when people start to panic about, oh my God, I got to trim the yard. That's when they're looking for mowers and string trimmers. So because I got this pile of equipment, one of which is a yard vac, which would probably be the highest dollar item I'm trying to fix. There's an order of things. I'm trying to get all the tillers done first, then the string trimmers and mowers, then move on to mess around with the pressure washers, etc. And then come fall, I'll need to have that leaf vacuum, yard vacuum done because people will want to clear up their leaves. So if you want to get top dollar, you can't sell a tiller in winter in this area. Nobody's looking. People are not very good at thinking ahead and planning for what's coming. Some are, but in general, to maximize your dough, you got to have the right equipment that you want to sell done at the right time of the year. That was it. Moving on. I'm going to take the motor off here, off the frame, put it on the workbench where I can deal with it. I'm not going to film that because it's just 4 bolts and bada bing. Be back in a minute. Well, what do we know? There it is. What are the facts of the case? Fact 1. Doesn't really have any oil in it. So says the takeoff there and look in the hole. There might be a little, but there wasn't any, at least when it's flat. What else did I discover? Pretty sure if you look down in there, that's the valve. And I cranked her on around through all 4 strokes, and I could not detect movement. And I believe that is the valve that you're looking at. So, yep, one of the valves isn't working. So there's hope that if the piston and cylinder rings are okay, that it may just be stuck in there. Needs all cleaned up, and it'll come back to life. You never know. But what are the other facts of the case? Somebody's been in here reefing on these screws. There's some other mysteries, like this linkage here is just flopping loose and doesn't connect to anything obvious. Not sure where that goes, but it's in the way. So I'm going to try to take off the intake, the whole gas tank situation, and get that out of the way so that I can take the shroud off and dig further. Eventually we're gonna, I assume, have to take the head off. So that's next. we're in. Well, at least to where the head is. A couple things I noticed, which I've now lost. Oh, seriously? There it is. If this thing mechanically comes back to life, the carburetor's probably shot, I would assume, because it looks like that tore off of there. I don't see there being a fix for that. But this is the pickup. There's a screen, and that's the fuel pickup. So I don't think that's going to be recoverable. I don't know. I have to do a little research if it comes to that. Look at that intake. What'd they do? Have no air filter? Dirty. Anyway, that's what these are. Lots of times on these kind of tillers, the pickup tube breaks off. Plastic gets brittle. Happened to my cousin, I think. And then if the tank is extremely full, it might suck in enough to get started and run, but then it just keeps dying. It's probably getting no fuel because the tubes broke off, laying in the bottom of the tank. And it's kind of a pain in the pickle to get the tank off to deal with it. Anywho, here we are. I guess we have no choice but what for to take the head off. So that's next. Okay. Well, I should have done that. We're going to use this first to see if we can break them loose. Yeah. That one moved. That one moved. Moved. Alright. Guess that's it. Well, it's always got to be one. Alright, moved. One stubborn boy. Did I get all of them? Yeah, that's it. All loose. They're all going to come out without breaking off, apparently. You know, there's something to be said about the old engines leaking all over the place. Everything's buttered up with oil. I have my strong doubts about this. Engine coming back to life. Well, fun to take it apart and find out. I think it's a good idea to always keep these in the head if you can, because some of them are not the same length, and then you get surprised later when you have to figure it out situations. All right, no prying required. Oh. Oh. Beautiful, which means hideously filthy. We didn't tear up the gasket. Wow, look at that crust though. Can you see it? Yeah, look at this. Just ash and horror. But the head gasket itself didn't look blown or anything. That little fella right there, she not moving. See the piston, although it's filthy. Let's see. Oh, so the connecting rod's not broken. And, ow, my glove caught. And can you see it? The cylinder doesn't look scratched or tore up. So I guess there actually is hope. We'll leave it right there, top dead center. And oh, no you're not. Come on, genius, you can do it. At least try to get some of this filth out of here. There. Just a preliminary dusting, let's say. Oh my God. You know, I've said it before, believe it or not, even though I work on this stuff in my basement, I am a neatnik. Have to be diligent about filth control. Okay. So I guess the goal is figure out why that valve is stuck. I don't really know how to proceed. I can give it a light tappy tap 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 tap. That's all I can think of. Intake one works. Going the wrong way, but yeah. Well, I know where all my Marvel mystery oil went. Went down the exhaust because it's all wet right there. Just schmutz that around. Huh? There we go. Give it a little butter. Maybe. Ouch. Something stabbed me. Maybe we'll get lucky and just real light tappy tap will free that up. Wouldn't that be something? The carburetor looks like it's hosed though. It will be a battle to bring. Well, I don't know though. I don't know. Sometimes the older ones don't have the tiny little orifices and stuff. If I can get that pickup tube, it looks like I got to pull, which may not be possible, the little copper. I'm getting ahead of myself, but there's a little copper dingus, I think, that's stuck down that this pressed onto. And if that's the case, if I can, I don't know, I have to look online and see about these things, but maybe they sell just this part. If you can get the copper tail out and insert a new copper piece, which I think I have for my RC airplane days, is real tiny copper tubing that slips in that size hole. I don't know. Valve stuck first. Maybe. We give it a little love tap. Doesn't seem to be working. It's probably rusted. Good and filthy. It's off a little. So no extra schmoo goes down the gizzard of the machine. Well, what do we do? What do we do? Huh. Guess let's take the cover off. Look in there. Caveman tool. What size do we got? 5/16? I think so. Well, what's going on here? Tool's failing me. Oh goody, another gasket to try to break. I love making gaskets, you've probably seen, which means I don't. It's tedious. X-Acto blade torture. But when you're impatient, and I am impatient, you can at least not have to wait for one to arrive in the mail. You know, that's one thing I don't understand. Somebody tell me. How come it is? Are there places like maybe like New York where they claim you can get anything right now? Why are there no stores you can go to for small engine stuff anymore, or so many parts, and just pick up what you need? They don't seem to exist. You have to order it online. There's no going to the hardware store and get it. Why isn't there a small engine shop? that you can get to that has all this stuff in stock. Because nothing pisses me off more than to go to a small engine lawnmower repair place only to be told, well, we can order that for you, and then it'll take a week, and it costs more than I can get it for at home, order it myself online. I'm willing to pay more to go over to the store, to the local guy, if he's got the stuff in stock, but it doesn't seem to be available anymore. Maybe it never was, I don't know. What we got in here? Rat's nest? Yeah, probably. So what's in there? Well, it doesn't seem normal. Does it? Does it? Maybe it does. Well, let's try getting a hold of that with a big old greasy pliers. What am I trying to say? Slip joint type pliers. Without tearing up the edge. Think that's possible? Probably not. Let's just try anyway. Oh, wrong. You never get these in the right slot the first try. You gotta see the top though to see if it's spinning. Oh, yeah, I got it moving. It's wiggling. Yeah, might have hope. Oh, it's going round. Well, what could have happened here? Gotta think. Now wait a minute. That's the intake side, isn't it? I think. Yeah. I think that's the intake side stuck. So, I wonder if what happened is somehow this got left out in the rain and water got in there somehow and rusted up the valve a little bit in the valve guide. I don't know. Actually, I don't want to tap it down at this point because I'm going to keep working at it a little here at a time and see if I can get this to loosen up. But I won't be able to grab it, obviously, if it's you know, seated. Trying not to scratch anything else too. Just kind of full in a china shop. It goes around and around. It won't go down any. Why would that be? You guys are supposed to be watching. Is this part seized? That's unpleasant. Ooh, that's a good noise. What do we have trapped in here? Awesome. That doesn't sound... Oh. Okay. Yeah. You couldn't see it, but I can see it. Look at the rod. Well, see it? So it's not inside the motor. It is just the valve guide stuck. Good. We'll keep farting with it, and if we get it loose and freed up, I can compress the spring, get the little clip retainer out, slide it out, and maybe polish it all up and get it to chooch. Bonus. Alright, you've had enough. You've seen what the problem is. You don't need to see me working it back and forth another 1,000 times. So I'll turn you off and turn it back on when I get this figured out or the valve out. Okay, onward. Oop, geez, came out no problems. I thought there was, well, I mean, I've seen different kind of things for how to hold these on. In this case, it's just slide it up on the valve and push over, and that's locked into position once it's under spring tension. It's out, so now the trick is just spin the motor over and poke something in between the two so that it drives it out. Or we could also alternately, which might be okay. No, I don't want to do that. Let's try poking it out first. So, what'll work? Well, anything really. It's not going to damage anything else. What's a good candidate? I got nothing. Seriously? Seriously? Okay. Oops, let's go this way. Oh, missed it. Alright, it's kind of wedged in there. Oh. Started to see the spring in my thawing, but then it decided I don't like that idea. This work? Yeah, it probably works better. Yeah, see it coming? Maybe? Oh. Yep, it's all rusty. I can wiggle it, but oh, it is coming. Okay, good. Oh, give. Oh, it doesn't like the bottom either. That's tight. Yep. Rusty. Of course, because I'm cheap, what I'm going to do is take it over to the wire wheel, but we got to get it out of there one way or another. Which it's not liking right now. I don't want to go bananas. I don't want to cut my hand off either. I'm going to try to give it the old, well, let's just give it the old gorilla grip. Almost. There we go. Okay. How bad is it? Not too bad. The part that actually touches. Oh, wait a minute. Am I right? Yeah, I think I'm right. No. That's the part that's got to go down on the guide. It's probably pooched. Well, I say that. I mean, it may last for a good long while. What would happen? What would happen? Let me think. If that sealer on a valve is not the best, then what happens? Just not sure. Who knows though? Maybe the valves are cheap too. I don't really know. That is disgusting. Can't even get in there. Disgusting. It's like somebody shoved a bunch of oil in here or something. Who would have done such a thing? Just. Yeah. All right. Again, turn the camera off. Nothing for it but to try. Let's wire wheel that up and see if we can at least get it to move freely. Then we could at least test for compression, I suppose. Let's see if that works. Well, that didn't take much effort. It's free. Now you can see how bad it is. But most of that rust is up above where it actually goes in the seat. Just the very top. So the rest of it, where it travels in there, is pretty good. And it does, in fact, have no problem moving now freely. So, this one's got a little slop in it too. More than that one does. So, I think, you know, given the age and everything else and just the amount of money and effort we want to put onto this, I think we're going to try it. I'm going to just give this a little motor oil. Clean out the intake area, go ahead and put it on there, and then worry about the rest after that. I did gim up the edge, the very edge a little with that pliers. It doesn't matter. That's not the part that seats. It doesn't make any burrs, so that should be fine. I'm not worried about it. Again, consider what you're working with here. It's not like this is going to be a race car engine. But that's it. We found the cause of the no compression for sure. Let's see if we can get it cleaned up, reassembled, and check for compression again. Well, I thought, wait a minute, you're probably going to want to see this. So there's the valve compressor tool. Really cool guy read an ad on, I don't remember what, I think it was Facebook, and said free to any vet, and it was like a battery charger, car starter, and a bunch of specialty tools, a ring compressor, and this valve, spring compressor, free to a veteran. So he didn't care. Anyway, I went over and I am a vet, and I showed him my VFW membership, or American Legion membership card, whatever it was. Anyways, and I didn't have to do anything as a vet. I kept myself fit. I was a reservist, ready to be deployed. Didn't have to go do anything, and I told him that. I said, you know, there's other guys that actually had to do a lot more. I just was signed up to be ready to go and never got asked to go anywhere. Didn't matter. It was pretty cool. He gave it to me, and that's where I got it. This is the first time I've been able to use it. I just pulled it out of the box, and looks like it's going to work. I don't know if you can see it. I'll try to show you. Where's the camera? Let me see. Where are we looking? See in there? Barely. You can see the valve. Of course, you know the valve is loose because we just got done fooling with it. Oh, I can't film it. Well, now, of course, because I'm talking about it, I can't do it. But anyway, the valve's totally loose in here. The spring is compressed. I just have to take this little part with a needle nose and get it lifted and put in there, and then release the spring tension. Actually, this is the way it goes. Release the spring tension, and then whoop, it's held on. I'm not going to be able to film that because I'd have to take 3 hands, so that's what's going to happen. Winner. That was super easy with that tool. Looky, looky. Engine spinny. Barf out exhaust. Whoop. Suck in fuel. Whoop. Compress fuel. Ignite. Whoop. Barf out exhaust. There's your 4 strokes. All right, I'm gonna finish cleaning it up. Put the head back on it. Oh, when I say clean it, I'm just gonna wipe out the filth. put some oil around the cylinder so it has, you know, a little lube on the wall. Put the head on it. Put the cover back on it so we have a recoil starter with which to test, and then we'll test compression finally, as I said. All right, let's see what happens. I got high hopes, but well, what's the saying? You can hope in one hand and poop in the other, and see which one fills up first. Yeah. Whoop. All right. What are the chances? Come on. Well, I can't see it then. Dang it. Oh, there we go. Okay. What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Come on, do it. It's not the end of the world, but it's 80 or 90. That certainly will run for an engine of this vintage. I believe that'll run. So, what are the three things? Quiz time. It's not a quiz, just telling you. Compression, whoops. Compression, spark, fuel. Right? We have achieved compression again. Let's see. I cleaned up Mr. Spark Plug. I know the coil's good, but let's see. Maybe the spark plug's good too. Oh, that's a quality clip on the end of there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Good as gold. Which means it's awful. Is that about to fall off? If I pinch it one more time, is it the one last time it had in its life? Let's see. Not a very good connection, but maybe we'll be able to see it. Come on, Bessie, do it. Oh God, yeah. Is that enough spark for you? Beautiful. All right. Put that in there. So I don't drop any filth down it. I gotta make a gasket because I tore that up getting it off. And then eventually, well, I guess all at the same time. The tank is kind of rusty too. I guess I'm gonna see if I can fix the carb first, but then see if I can bother with the tank, because it may be the case of, I actually don't know where the model numbers are on this engine either. But if I get the carburetor fixed to some satisfaction, that's one thing. Then I'll worry about the tank. I think I'm gonna have to drop a bunch of, yeah, it's rusty in there. It's not horrific, but I have to drop a bunch of nuts in there and kerosene probably, and shake it around and flush it and flush it. Get it all cleaned out. This thing mounts on the tank, so it's, you know, if you're gonna end up trying to go with an aftermarket carburetor, which I couldn't even find the engine. Oh yeah, I can, right here. Finally. If you can't find the right carburetor, it's probably a case of you can't use the tank either. I actually have some spare plastic tanks, but then you'd have to rig up a way for it to attach on there, and just, yeah, be better if we can fix the carb and fix the tank, put it back together in its original configuration. That's the plan, at least the preliminary plan. That's about it. I'll make that gasket and at least put the valve cover dingler back on there, and probably put the camera back on time-lapse mode when I get ready to take apart the carburetor. All right. Wait a minute. That's no fun. Let's do what they do on the other channels, because it is fun. Let's fill it up with oil, so it's got oil. Then drizzle a little oil fuel mix down the spark plug hole and just give her a pull. See if we can get it to fire and anger. We'll put the muffler on, but we'll leave the carburetor off the intake. See what happens. Just for fun, Let's see if it'll bark in anger. Oh my God, it's 18 degrees out here. Come on. Can't coordinate it. Give her some gas. Like that. Oh God. Seriously? Oh my God. Will it bark in anger? Let's find out. All right, beautiful. Let's work on the carburetor. Looky. Here we are. Tiller again. This is got to be one of the worst carburetors I've ever seen. It's broken in so many ways. Let's just start. Well, this isn't its fault, just weathered, but the little elbow, they're cheap. That's on order. There's the tube, there's the carb. To get the actual Briggs carb like this anymore, it's like $100. No way is an old motor worth that. I spent $35 for a Chinesium aftermarket one, which is still kind of a waste for something this old. But you're kind of pooched, because if you want to use the gas tank, you got to get a carb that mates up with the gas tank. And there were two choices. This style with this kind of choke was $100 or so, or $55 was the cheapest aftermarket non-name brand one. It was $35 for the alternate one that still fits this tank, that was commonly used on these motors, but it has a different choke mechanism than this. Well, anyway, so I started looking and I said, I know, I can see these are broke off. I've dealt with this before. I'll just get the pickup tubes. They're like $5 a piece. What a poor design. You know, I hate to reward Briggs & Stratton by spending money on their parts for such a poor design. To have a plastic tube on the end of a metal tube that deteriorates, I don't know how many times it's happened. Why wouldn't you just make an all metal tube that goes to the bottom with a thread-on fitting on the bottom with an O-ring? Or, alternately, what I was going to threaten to do if the rest of the carburetor wasn't junk was, this isn't rocket science. If you look in here, it's just got to pick up fuel from the bottom. So this one, the long one, which I think is that one, that goes clear down to the bottom of the tank, there's no reason why that I can figure out you couldn't put a string trimmer or chainsaw, flexible line, and one of the filters that lays on the bottom in there. It would still pick up fuel, almost to the very bottom of the tank. Same way a chainsaw or string trimmer does it. Wouldn't matter. Now the other stock that fits in here that breaks off, again, unbelievably poor design to make that a plastic part in my opinion. You're just pooched. It presses in way up here, and it would be a bugger to get that out. But I was willing, because I thought, okay, fine, $10 and I have the thing fixed. But no, I decided to start taking it apart. Number one, the ears broke off the cover. Available, another $5. Now you're at $15. Diaphragm, ruined. Another $5. Well, $3. Then I tried to turn the jet out to clean it. The whole thing came out. The inside screw wouldn't turn inside that, so that broke off. So that's unadjustable now and ruined. That's in there and refuses to come out, and it chowdered up the edge like commonly does. You can't get the jet out. Oh, there's more. Then the air filter, which I never had, which I started to look around. Well, you want an air filter, right? It goes down in there and threads on, and this thing works around the threaded rod, supposedly. Well, if you're lucky, that's broken. So this carburetor was just broken in about 6 different ways of which some of them aren't fixable, and the parts added up to, I don't know, 20 bucks at this point ish. It's 35 for a brand new aftermarket. So I like to try to keep everything original and cheap, but couldn't be done. Either this motor was junk because of that seized valve. Probably all goes together. I guarantee you what happened was this was upright. Probably the plastic tubes rotted off. Whoever owned it tried to start it, wouldn't stay running. Because as soon as it got to half tank, it couldn't pick up fuel anymore. So then they just threw it somewhere, and either before or after, that rod that holds all the air cleaner on somehow got pushed or bonked and snapped that little threaded fitting at the bottom, so it didn't fit tight anymore. Couldn't tighten it, so they took it off. Then water managed to get down the intake and run inside the engine intake and get rust all up on that top of that exhaust valve, and that's it. That's just where it sat. So you don't know which one of them started it, but one way or the other, that's what we're up against. And for $35, which, as I said, it costs $10 for the tiller already, and then $35 for the carb, that might fix it. And overall, obviously, you know, make a few dollars from fixing and selling these things. This particular item, probably not. But I don't want to just throw it away. So sometimes I can handle breaking even or even losing 5 or 10 bucks on one item because I want to, you know, resurrect it. It's fun to do, make a YouTube video on it. Hopefully you guys like watching it. But it is what it is. This one's not going to make any dough, and that's okay, but it was interesting to go through it and fix it. This one's going to get, I guess I'm going to work on the actual mechanical parts of the tiller, because those were a hot mess too. Half the bolts are missing on the handle, and get all that tightened up and the bushings lubricated and make sure all the pulleys and widgets move freely. The chain drive is lubed. If all that ends good, then even if this motor were total junk, you could always stick another motor on it and it'd work as a tiller just fine. And you can find these motors all over the place all the time. Little 5 horsepower motors that you can stick a pulley on the end of it. That's all you need. The rest is just getting the right size belt to go from pulley A to pulley B. So that's where we're at. I'm gonna put the rest of this aside, and I found out when you work on these things and you gotta wait for parts, you gotta label what you've done or you will forget, as I've done many times. So I started to write it down. Stick a note on it, slide it someplace out of the way, move on to the next thing. All right, next part will probably be me fixing the tiller mechanisms themselves on the body, or I'll wait till the part gets here and you'll see the new carb on it. We'll see. There's the main part of the tiller. Sad state of affairs. I know the tiller mechanism works. The chain's connected. I think I just gotta check that for gear oil, make sure it's not rotted, but this is a problem. The wheels, where they go in that rectangular mount, it's all blown open. I think I'm just gonna beat that with a hammer, get it nice and square, and then weld it. Not weld the wheels on, but weld the square tube back to where it originally fit the other piece of steel, and that'll be strong enough to handle that then. And like I said, these bolts were missing. I just temporarily put something in there. These are taken off. This chain's messed up. The spring mechanism doesn't have any return capability, so it's all little stuff, but that's what I'm gonna do, tighten up the ship. I'm not gonna film that because that's just not exciting. Looks like there's the oil fill reservoir, and I believe just gear oil is fine. That's what I'm gonna put in there. That's it. Clean off this filth, and probably just to get it out of the way, once I do that, I'll put the engine back on it without the carb, and then wait for the carb to get here in the mail before we fool with this again. All right, we're back at Master Till. Carburetor came in. And of course, there's some problems. So I think what I remember was this thing did start and run if you sprinkled fuel right down its throat. So we knew that that part's okay. It's got oil in it and all that. Holds oil, doesn't blow it all out. All right, so just Oh, and it had good spark. So what's left? Fuel delivery. Well, this little fella arrived. So I made a gasket, cleaned everything up, put it on there. And of course, there's some problems. There were 2 carburetors listed for this engine type, and they have a different choke mechanism. And I thought that was the only difference. This one cost, I don't know, 8 times more to replace than that one. They're almost identical, but the way the choke mechanism works is different. Well, I saw that there was clearances. It doesn't matter. That's fine. And it just doesn't. It never had an air cleaner, so I'm gonna have to manufacture that from scratch anyway. So I didn't care how that went on. But look at the placement of those tubes for the crankcase. See where my pinky's pointing? That thing. Well, they're not at the same height. Well, the problem is when you put the tank on there, this little tube's supposed to go over the tank, and it was something like that, and you could get the angle on the elbow to get to that other hole, but there's not enough to make it to the other carburetor that was cheap for a Chinese replica or replacement carb. I think it was like $13 instead of like $70. So anyway, it's not the end of the world though. I looked at this, and what I determined was, it doesn't matter what it is. It's a rigid tube. It doesn't matter. I have some flexible copper plumbing pipe, and that's what I'll use. I'll try to bend that one first because it serves no purpose in life, but if that doesn't work, and I suspect I'll kink it trying, then I'll use the flexible copper and do that. But it doesn't really matter. All it has to do is connect that to the other end, and it doesn't even have to be that particularly tight. They never had hose clamps on them. They just poked in there. I did buy a replacement set of these elbows. I think that one's fine, but you get the idea. It just pops on out. Well, I say that and then I can't get it. There it is. I don't think there's anything wrong with this one, but probably use both new ones. So that's next up. I have to, well, I kind of jumped the gun. I didn't really clean out the tank, and the pickup tube on this one kind of touches and gets bent by the upper bowl, but not enough to do anything bad, I don't think. So it was a hot mess. The 3 screws were all different threads. Somebody had been in there, the previous owner, probably reefing on it, so I had to re-tap the 3 mount holes and find appropriate length screws. That was no problem. And then make a gasket because the gasket got destroyed when the other carburetor came off. So anyway, I think we're in business. I'm just going to give it a good rinse with gas. I shook it around before and got all the loose rust out I could. And that's what we're going to do. So I guess next is going to be trying to get this thing installed. Check out the quality placement of this gasket. Oh yeah, it's perfectly centered. You don't have to worry about that. God, I don't think the old one was any different. Anyway, that's next. Success. I was able to shove a screwdriver in, carefully bend it on the bench, and tear anything up. Then I had to remove a little bit of length with the old pipe cutter, but now it fits. Something along the lines of, something along the lines of like that. And it fits fits on the machine, but I only got one hand, so I can't hold it. So I guess I'm gonna give this can a rinse with gas and then see if I can put it on there. Okay. Something's off bubble. I think the previous owner pro-modified this thing in a way that was not very good. You got to have a way for the governor to reduce the speed of a motor, especially if you're putting a new carb on and you're not sure. So what happens? Well, this is the idle adjust screw, so that's, idling. And then when you pull the throttle, it should pull this lever down and open up the butterfly valve. But the governor is down here and has a rod that pushes up that little hole. So it should be able to reduce the throttle in case it's over revving to a dangerous amount. So you got to get the balance between those two. And all right, this linkage that was on here that I think is wrong went between here and there somehow. I didn't figure out how. I have to go look at the original video to see how it came off, I guess. But it can't be right, because that allows for no movement of the governor. If the throttle cable pulls on this, that pushes this up, pulls it down, which opens the throttle up. Well, in reality, there should be a spring between there and there, such that when you pull down on that and it pulls down on this to open the throttle, there's a spring here that can be overcome by the rod pushing up from the governor if it needs to. So you have a balancing point of that spring. So I'm gonna have to go dig online and see if I can't find what the original spring kind of halfway looked like for this, and see if I can figure out what strength the spring that needs to be. But the spring would go between, take your pick, the little hole and the big hole, or vice versa. I don't know. The governor rod is a small one over here, and who knows if it's been bent. But the idea is when the engine revs up, this pushes up, which would, if you look over here, connects to this and it pushes up, it would reduce the throttle. That's the point. The governor keeps it from over revving. So something in the linkage is hosed up here. Surprise! Why put this much effort into an old beat tiller? I don't know. Especially a poor design one with this integrated carburetor fuel tank situation. What a pain in the pickle. They made this thing non-serviceable. Just think of the end of the season. How would you run this out of gas? Well, you either have to drill a hole yourself and put a drain in the bottom of the tank, or you have to siphon out the gas and then start it and run it till it's empty. But you have to do something like that. There's no way to just cut the fuel off and then let the carburetor run itself empty and let the engine die, and then you can at least leave the fuel in here and treat it. Nope, none of that is possible with this setup, which is probably why so many of them break. If you weren't diligent and did it every year and totally emptied out all the gas and kept that tank dry, you get, chances are what happens, you get cold and warm cycles, and condensation forms in the inside of the tank, drips in the bottom, the tank rusts to pieces, or it at least gets rusty enough, you go to fill it up and start it. Assuming you had it empty, you go to fill it up and start it. More than likely, you just left what was in there because there was no good way to get it out. You can't flip the whole tank over. You have to undo linkages and all kinds of stuff, take the tank off, and then if you did flip the whole machine over, well, then you dumped out the engine oil. So just a poor design. Not sure why they did that. But regardless, our fun of doing these videos is so you guys can watch and see how to bring them back to life if they can be brought back to life. So we'll move ahead. I just wanted to rant for a second. I guess next up is go research and figure out how that linkage is supposed to go, and see if I can kludge up a spring of some kind. So that's next. So this is where we're at with this thing. It's tricky, but I think I figured it out. Can you see in there? Okay. So the rod was in the wrong spot because it was a physical direct linkage between the throttle up here on the carb and the cable, and that's no bueno. Then the governor has no means of reducing the speed. So there has to be a spring between the two somewhere. Anyway, you can kind of barely see it in there. Maybe you can see it. Can't get the camera stuffed in there. You see it down there? Anyways, here's the way it's gonna work. There's the throttle jacket holder, whatever you call it. So when the throttle gets pushed forward, it will open up throttle. But the governor now, even if that's held in place, has the ability, which I don't know if I can demonstrate it. If the governor were to push up right here, you can see that closes on a spring. That's what it's supposed to be able to do to protect the engine. So I believe we got it. There's the spring. You can probably barely see into there. Yeah. I don't know if it's in the right hole, the right tension, or what, but it's a start that it functions like it's supposed to mechanically. We just have to see if the spring's the right tension or whatever. That's it. There's full throttle. There's idle. There might need to be a little return spring to get it to go down to idle. I'm not sure, but that's where it's at. I had to bend the tube more, but it did make it. It's on there now. So it should be in business. I have no idea where the carburetor settings are. I'm gonna try to make, I don't know what, some kind of return somehow, so it's a light bit of tension on this to bring it to idle. I'll see what I can figure out. Well, I've never done this. It seemed like a good time to try, doesn't it? Let's see here. I've never brazed anything with MAP gas and bronze, except this right here. It's stuck to the can, so I'm making this air cleaner. I got a few holes to seal up. Let's see if it works. Something tells me though. No, I've lost it. Oh yeah. It'd probably be a good time to wear my safety McGlarses. Oh. And my finger protectifications. These dirty old oily cotton gloves should be fine. It's only welding temperatures. Yeah, it's fine. Well, would you look at that? I'll be dipped. I did, near as I can tell, successfully cork that hole up. Huh, let's do it again. There's 3 of them. I cut 3 slits to, I don't know, make a halfway reasonably sized air cleaner. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm having fun. And we might bring this old girl back to life. I smell tomatoes. That's what this can was. Okay. I don't know if I should be doing this in the house. It stinks. It's fine. It does have glue though. I know they coat the inside of these cans with some kind of anti, food fouling situation. Oh, well, it liquefied the glue. Sure, it's fine. It'll burn off, right? These are fun. I saw Guy Resta's video on him brazing something, and he was talking about how cool these brazing rods are, and I bought some, and I never had a chance to try them until now. Come on, go in the hole. There we go. Well, that ought to be more than enough. I mean, if a guy was going to be really thorough, I'm not going to touch that with my... I guess I could go and seal the whole edge. What for, to prevent air from sucking in there. Do I need to do that? I don't think so, because the plan is to well, it shouldn't matter. Plan is to put that on the carb, and then you see the type of can opener I have cuts the little seam at the side. It doesn't cut inside the rim. It's all fancy. So anyway, that just pinches tight on there. And I thought, well, if I put foam in there and then drill holes in the bottom around the carburetor, air would have to suck through the holes, through the foam to get to the carb, and everybody's happy. So that's what I was thinking. Hopefully that will work. Well, brazing stuff worked. I don't know if you have to see the rest, but I guess if I got industrious, I could braze all the way around it. Might as well. You don't need to watch that though. You've seen how it works. Well, there it is, boys. Huh? Come on. I believe that'll work. Soon to be an air filter. Soup can. Hey, if you're gonna be cheap, you gotta be creative. I had some landscape fabric laying around. I had some foam. You can see where this is going. There it is. Oh, I know it's ugly. Don't care. If you look underneath, see how the holes are drilled. Yeah. It should do it. And if you unscrew this, which I won't be able to do one-handed. Wait. Then you take it off and see what it is. You get the idea. Air comes in through the little holes, through the foam, it gets out in the center to feed the engine. And I eyeball measured in my mind and said, if you add together the volume of all those holes, would they at least exceed the throat opening of the carburetor? And I determined that they would. So it ought to get enough air. If not, I'll drill more holes. Sexy. So, gear oil. All right, then. You know what? Oops. Never checked this either. Let's just see. Half, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5. Well, 1, 2, 2.5. Leave it. Let's leave it right there. Start with. Let's give it some more gas. Make sure, and for positive, that it's past the pickups. Oh, God, I can't operate the equipment. Can you see it? I can't see nothing. All right. You go over there. Well, there's nothing for it. Hoi. Maybe give it less throttle. Let's try giving it almost none. I don't know. Oh. Well. Choke off. No. Choke on, little throttle. I am successfully bouncing all the fuel outside, so definitely doing that correctly. The throttle keeps sucking back in. We don't need that happening. Okay, it liked half choke, I guess. Choke off. Winner. That'll work. It revs too high. I'm gonna suffocate to death. Oh my God.